This is the Hall Institute of Public Policy's forum. My name is Michael Riccards, and today we're looking at the issue of autism. I have three very distinguished guests that I'm pleased to really bring before you today. One is Michelle Smigel, a parent, a philanthropist, and a person who is well known in her ability to really bring before us the issues of autism. The second guest that we have is Leslie Long, who's Director of Public Policy and Systems Advocacy for Autism New Jersey. And our third guest today is Madeline Goldfarb, who's Director of Outreach and Education for the Autism Center at the University of Medicine and Dentistry in the state of New Jersey. Ladies, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
I wanted to ask you a question, which I asked a little bit from our previous show, and somebody has brought to my attention, and that is that really what's happening here is that New Jersey is becoming a magnet for people with autistic children. We have one of the highest rates of autism in the nation. So does California. Some people have argued it's environmental reasons. We're also a heavy chemical state as well. But other people have said that just because we have all of these programs that are terribly expensive, we've become a magnet. Leslie, from public policy point of view, is that correct?
Actually, the studies that were commissioned by the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, have shown we are not a magnet, that it is truly what the prevalence is of, and New Jersey does a great job of diagnosis. We do a great job of educating our community. So we found that the prevalence numbers are higher, but it's similar for other states in the country. We have a high prevalence rate. We're seeing other states' prevalence rate also continue to rise. Again, that's diagnosis, not necessarily the incidence. But that actually is not the reason that their numbers are higher. And, you know, we do a great job of public school programs and private schools, and we have some of the best private schools in the world that serve individuals on the autism spectrum. And I know Michelle can talk a bit about that because her child attends a private school.
There are two really mothership, I think, schools for autistic children, and one of them is Alpine Learning Group, and the other is Princeton Childhood Development Institute. Both have had other schools that are modeled after these particular schools. We are actually one of these parents, although I know that the numbers are still what they are, but we are one of these parents that actually moved from New York to New Jersey in order to go to one of these private schools. And it's like winning the lottery. I mean, the idea that my child was able to go to a school like Alpine Learning Group at 7 years old was just sheer absolute luck. There's not enough of these schools. There's many kids who can do well in a public school, in a good classroom with the right teachers, but there are many that cannot. That are too severe, and they need more one-on-one attention. And that's why these private schools need to exist. My child, like many others, have severe problems and will not be okay in a public school system. So I was very lucky to get my child into Alpine, and there's not enough of these private schools that exist. And right now in New Jersey, I believe there's a moratorium on developing more private schools, and yet there's a huge demand.
And not only are we see these great school programs that they're very few and far between, and it's very difficult to get into, but the adult service system, when a child ages out of their entitlement at 21, there are no expanding adult programs. So here we have a really satisfied parent with her school program. When her son becomes 21, there are really very, very limited services and funding to support him when he becomes an adult. And that is a huge concern. And in fact, we may see people leave New Jersey because they don't get those adult programs.
Why is autism more prevalent in shore communities than in the inland part of the state?
Well, I'm not sure that's totally true. I think there are pockets, and Madeline certainly could speak to this, but I think there are pockets of areas that have high rates of autism. I mean, Chicago has a high rate of autism. And there are other areas, so I'm not totally sure that those numbers are correct. Also, there's better diagnosis in places like New Jersey, New York, California than there is in some other places in the middle of the country where people aren't quite as educated in autism.
And then if you really want to break down the study itself, and UMDNJ was actually the study site. So our researchers did go out and do that collection of data. They were able to go into a really rich field of data that some of the other states did not have access to. So I think when you look at the study, and we can say, yes, we are the 1 in 94, and it sounds like from the surface at first blush, we are a hotbed of autism. But when you break down the study, I truly believe that New Jersey was able to come very close to what is the real prevalence. And that it's not that I think New Jersey bears a higher burden of autism than other states. I think that's the true burden of autism. And that other states did not get the same sort of information. So that it's not that they don't bear the same burden. I think it's there. I think that it is also there.
And if you look at, Autism New Jersey, we were formerly COSAC,
right,
has been around for over 40 years. Almost 45 years. So we've had information directed in our state that has helped lead parents to understand what autism is and help for professionals. That was 40 some odd years ago. So I think the rest of the country is beginning to catch up a bit.
And one of the other facts as well that I think is very important when we think about New Jersey has great programs, and I think it is natural to think that people are moving into the state to access our services. This study was able to look at birth certificates. And through birth certificates, they were able to ascertain that 80% of the individuals on the spectrum that came through this survey that were identified are born in New Jersey. And that was a very important statistic when you looked at the other states where that number dropped down to 35, 40, 50% of their populations. And I really think that sort of speaks to if you have that great job offer in another state, you have a kid on the spectrum, guess what? You're not going to take it. If you're in a state that doesn't have great services, you get a job offer someplace else. Well, bad service here, bad service there. I will go take that better job offer. I think once you have a kid ID'd on the spectrum, you stay in New Jersey because the service package, it can be so much more superior.
We're going to come back and talk a little bit about the education aspects, so we'll take a break and we'll be right back to discuss autism.